My family chuckled when I came into possession of Grandpa's seemingly useless desert land, but a year later, their tune changed dramatically. My family chuckled when I came into possession of Grandpa's seemingly useless desert land. I was meant to be the wayward son, coming back in a blaze of glory. That's the way it unfolds on the silver screen, isn't it? For years, I toiled diligently in Texas Tech's agricultural program. At last, I was making my way back to the family ranch, clutching a gleaming diploma and brimming with innovative ideas that could propel our operation into the modern age. Throughout the entire drive from Lubbock, I envisioned my mom's apple pie cooling on the windowsill, while my dad gave me a reassuring pat on the back, expressing his pride in me. That's not quite the tale as it unfolded. The relentless West Texas sun cast its golden rays upon my 2008 Chevy as I navigated the lengthy dirt driveway leading to our ranch, stirring up clouds of dust that danced in my wake. The very driveway where I had sped back and forth on my bike during my childhood, filled with dreams of one day playing a part in the running of this place. For countless generations, the essence of the Mitchell lineage has been woven into the very fabric of the earth, marked by their toil and perseverance. In the days of the Dust Bowl, my great-grandpa carved out this land with his own hands. At last, the moment had arrived for me to share my own piece. But that was merely my assumption. There he was, my older brother Blake, perched high upon our John Deere tractor, as if it were his very own royal seat. A baseball cap flipped backward, reminiscent of our childhood days. Yet we had outgrown our childhood. At 30 he stood there, while I was just 24, clutching a degree that now seemed as insubstantial as the tumbleweeds dancing across our land. Mom burst through the door, her hands busy with the fabric of her apron, the very one that had been a constant presence throughout my childhood. Her embrace seemed heartfelt, yet a flicker in her gaze hinted at something more. Perhaps a touch of sympathy? Father trailed behind, his time-worn visage a mystery as ever. A cold hand reached out for a solid handshake instead of a warm embrace. The warmth of home beckons you back. College boy, he remarked, the nickname striking like a sudden blow. That evening at the dinner table, I passionately shared my vision for sustainable irrigation systems, ones that could reduce our water consumption by 30%. Father merely nudged his mashed potatoes, a silent dance on his plate, while Blake let out a snort into his sweet tea, the sound echoing in the stillness of the moment. Have you heard of drip irrigation? In the vast expanse of West Texas. Blake chuckled heartily. What comes next, Ethan? Shall we cultivate some avocados and launch a trendy farmer's market? At last, Dad raised his gaze. As you've immersed yourself in your elaborate tomes, your brother has been here, toiling away, ensuring this place survives the trials of 2 droughts and a market crash. My cheeks ignited with a fierce heat. In my quest for knowledge, I immersed myself in study, driven by the desire to aid our journey of adaptation. Father, the world of farming is evolving, and this land will remain ours. Father interrupted me. Blake has been guiding the journey alongside me. He is intimately familiar with every inch of land, every single head of cattle, and every dripping pipe. It is his destiny. Mom extended her hand toward mine, bridging the distance across the table. We cherish you, dear, but dividing a ranch in 2 is simply not possible. Embrace understanding and stand by your brother's side. In an instant, my future vanished, dissipating like the morning dew beneath the blazing Texas sun. I found myself seated, fork in hand, a sense of being an outsider washing over me, as if I had stumbled into a gathering meant for someone else. For 4 long years, I poured my heart and soul into preparing for a job that was already claimed by my brother, the golden child who never ventured far from home. I was meant to come back a champion with my degree in hand, yet they greeted me as if I were the one who let the family Netflix subscription lapse. As the night deepened, I found my way to the barn, the cherished refuge of my youth. The scent of hay and leather stirred up memories of sneaking away from chores, lost in the pages of adventure books, illuminated only by the soft glow of a flashlight. I reached for my phone and dialed the one person who could truly grasp what I was feeling. Grandpa Henry resided a couple of hours away, tending to his own modest patch of land. Years ago, when Grandma passed away, he parted with most of his property, holding on to just enough to care for his cherished pecan trees. At 84, he remained as keen as ever, with a personality that was twice as sharp. "What troubles you, young one? It seems you've stumbled upon quite the surprise, as if a rattlesnake had made its home in your boot." He spoke not with a greeting, but rather, I poured out my heart about returning home brimming with ideas, only to discover that I had been excluded from the family business before I even had the chance to begin. He let out a chuckle, that raspy laugh that always had a way of lifting my spirits. "What is it that you seek?" They welcomed you back with pitchforks instead of cake, a curious twist to the homecoming celebration. 2 days later, I set out on a journey to Grandpa's place. I could hardly bear another moment of observing Blake parade around the ranch, while Dad looked on, nodding in approval at every little thing he did. Mom kept attempting to mend the situation with generous servings of brisket, as if the tender meat held some enchanting power to dissolve the tension. Grandpa sat patiently on his porch swing, a gentle smile gracing his face as he awaited the arrival of familiar footsteps. 2 beers have already been opened. His property may not have rivaled our family ranch, yet the rows of pecan trees stood tall, reminiscent of cherished companions from days gone by. At the age of 10, I would assist him during the harvest, darting between the trees as he shared his tales with me. "The sun drives the very heart of our world, my young friend. Don't you forget it," he'd say, gesturing toward the sky peeking through the branches. In those days, I believed he was merely a sentimental old fool. He always made me feel like an essential piece of the puzzle. We would gather on his porch, sipping beer and engaging in conversations that spanned from the intricacies of soil composition to the Dallas Cowboys' prospects for that season. At times, he would unveil his rock collection, sharing the tale of each piece's origin with the kind of excitement that a child has when displaying their prized baseball cards. Captured this moment in New Mexico, 1962. What began as a brief stop turned into an enchanting 3-day quest, all in search of hidden geodes. He'd proclaim, lifting a crystal-filled rock as if it were a treasure of pure gold. Little did I know, those would be the final exchanges we shared. The call arrived on a Tuesday. Mom's voice trembled as she shared the news that Grandpa had slipped away peacefully in his sleep. "Tranquil," the doctor remarked. "Departed quietly, just as he had journeyed through life." The gathering was intimate. Grandpa found himself surrounded by the warmth of family and the familiarity of a few loyal neighbors, as the years had taken many of his friends away. There I was, clad in my solitary suit, beads of sweat trickling down as the relentless Texas sun bore down on me, my gaze fixed on the somber scene of them gently lowering his casket into the earth. Blake stood beside me, a rare moment of solemnity enveloping him. Father held Mother close, her tears flowing freely as the preacher shared words of eternal life. Grandpa's voice echoed in my mind, vivid and unmistakable. "The sun drives the very heart of our world, my young friend. Make sure it stays in your memory." I shut my eyes, sensing the warm tears tracing paths down my cheeks. Not solely for Grandpa, but for my own journey as well. For the future I had envisioned, now felt as entombed as the man who had always held faith in me. The solemn farewell concluded, and we all made our way back to the ranch. In the passenger seat, Mom sat in silence, her fingers tightly gripping a tissue. Father navigated the road, his jaw set with determination. In the rearview mirror, Blake's truck trailed behind us, kicking up dust as it journeyed down the winding road. During dinner that night, Mom shattered the stillness. The attorney reached out. "The reading of the will shall unfold tomorrow at the hour of 10. Father acknowledged with a slight nod, his gaze fixed on the food before him. Blake plunged his fork into the meatloaf, a decisive act that echoed his frustration. Grandpa probably just left you his rock collection, Blake said with a smirk, though I could see the uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I moved my food around on the plate, feeling no appetite stirring within me. Grief lingered heavy, a weighty stone nestled deep within my stomach. Above all else, I yearned for those endless conversations on Grandpa's porch. He had a unique ability to make me feel as though I truly belonged in this world. Even when all around me, I felt like an outsider, a mere accessory in the grand tapestry of life. On that fateful night, slumber eluded me. I found myself reflecting on Grandpa's cherished words, "The sun is the engine of the world, boy. Make sure it stays in your memory." He had spun that tale so many times over the years that it had turned into a running joke between us. Yet a thought lingered in my mind: could there have been a deeper meaning woven into the fabric of it all from the very beginning? Before the first light of day, I rose and beheld the sunrise from the comfort of my bedroom window. The Texas horizon gradually shifted, unveiling a breathtaking tapestry of black giving way to deep purple, then igniting into a brilliant fiery orange. A whisper in the air hinted that after today, everything would change forever. Uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me to ponder the reasons behind my feelings. It's a deep intuition, as firm and unwavering as the earth that supports me. The dawn broke far too swiftly. After a refreshing shower, I donned my best shirt and set off into town, my family trailing behind in their truck. Above the bustling hardware store on Main Street, the lawyer's office held its quiet presence. One of those ancient brick structures that has likely stood the test of time since the days when cowboys roamed the land and held significance. Within, the air was thick with the scent of aged paper and the artificial sweetness of pine air freshener. Mr. Wilson, the lawyer, was a balding fellow with glasses that were thicker than my college textbooks. He possessed a gaze that seemed to assess your value, meticulously determining your worth to the last cent. My family and I nestled into chairs that seemed to have been fresh and vibrant back in the days when Nixon held the presidency. Blake found himself glancing at his phone repeatedly. Father sat upright, his hands resting firmly on his knees. Mother simply appeared weary. With a flourish, Wilson declared, "Let's begin," as he revealed a folder from his grasp. Henry Mitchell had a clear vision of what he desired. I drifted off a little during the intricate legal jargon. My thoughts wandered back to those cherished evenings on Grandpa's porch, a cold beer in hand, as we watched the sun dip below the horizon, casting its golden glow behind the pecan trees. The way he would gesture towards something far off, weaving tales of the soil's secrets, or recounting how the indigenous people once gathered roots from that very land centuries past. Wilson's voice pulled me from the depths of my thoughts. To my beloved son, James Mitchell, and his cherished wife, Ellen, I bequeath my home along with 15 acres of flourishing pecan-producing land, valued at around $320,000. Father acknowledged with a rigid nod. It comes as no surprise. To my beloved grandson, Blake Mitchell, I bequeath my cherished 1969 Ford pickup truck and my treasured collection of vintage farming equipment. Blake, in a rare moment, allowed a smile to grace his lips. Since he was 12, that truck had captured his gaze. Then Wilson took a moment to clear his throat. And to my grandson, Ethan Mitchell, the room fell into a hush. A sense of Blake's smirk washed over me, even though I didn't need to glance in his direction. I part ways with my cherished collection of geological specimens, the entire contents of the storage shed nestled behind my house, my grandfather's treasured pocket watch, and a sprawling 25 acres of land marked by the following coordinates. Wilson shared a sequence of numbers that held no significance for me. Mother wore a look of bewilderment. Father's brow furrowed. "Where, pray tell, lies that land?" Father inquired. Wilson unfurled a map and gestured with purpose. "It lies approximately 40 miles to the west of this very spot." "Ah, the parcel that Mr. Mitchell acquired back in 1972, a piece of history waiting to be unveiled. Father's visage flushed a deep crimson, reminiscent of a sun-kissed glow. That insignificant expanse? Henry often claimed he acquired it purely for the sake of humor. I understood precisely what they were discussing. Grandpa spoke of it on several occasions. A vast expanse of parched earth, acquired at a bargain from a rancher in dire straits during the 70s. In that moment, laughter echoed around him, a chorus of voices that filled the air with mirth at his expense. Declared it the most worthless piece of Texas anyone had ever spent their hard-earned money on. Blake erupted in laughter. It seems that Grandpa truly bestowed upon you his cherished rock collection along with a special place reserved for you in the underworld. That land, so devoid of value, that even the vultures soar above it, well prepared with their packed lunches. Mom gently rested her hand on mine. I'm certain he had good intentions, dear. Father gently shook his head. Ah, Henry and his relentless humor. I simply sat there, attempting to make sense of everything unfolding around me. Grandpa had bestowed upon Blake and my parents a treasure of great significance. Ground that truly yielded a bounty. Gear that holds true value. And I received what? Stones and earth. Wonderful. With a deliberate gesture, Wilson extended his hand, presenting me with a key. This is for the trailer on the property. Your grandfather spoke of it as being in a state fit for living. Blake let out a derisive snort. Perhaps a suitable realm for rattlesnakes. The journey back was filled with an uncomfortable silence, to put it mildly. As I trailed behind my parents' truck, I couldn't help but notice Blake animatedly gesturing in the passenger seat, his movements full of life and excitement. Perhaps already weaving dreams for the pecan orchard. Back at the ranch, Dad found me in the kitchen while Mom feigned busyness with the dishes. Exercise caution in this matter, Ethan. Market that unremarkable narrative. Incorporate the funds into the family venture. Blake has a firm grasp on the workings of the ranch. Why not take a moment to absorb his wisdom rather than pursuing all these college notions? As I stood there, coffee mug cradled in my hand, I sensed my future condensing into a singular point, sharp and clear. Toiling beneath Blake for all eternity. Observing him chase after my legacy. Receiving requests and maintaining silence. Then, as if a radio had just been turned on, Grandpa's voice echoed in my mind. Land is never merely dirt, my young friend. It's a vow. A realization dawned within me. Perhaps it was sorrow. Perhaps it was the 4 years spent in college that led me to believe I had all the answers. Or perhaps it was simply the weariness of being the overlooked member of the family. No, I'm not parting with it. Dad's eyebrows shot up as if they were eager to break free from his forehead. What is it that you seek? I shall hold on to the land. This belongs to me. It holds no value. Father's voice soared. Only stones and soil stretch for miles, far from civilization. What will you do with it? How to cultivate tumbleweeds? Blake sauntered in, plucking an apple from the counter with a casual grace. Perhaps he envisions the creation of a sanctuary for lizards, a haven where these fascinating creatures can thrive. With a satisfying crunch, he sank his teeth into the apple. Or perhaps he has at last discovered something that aligns perfectly with his career aspirations. The dispute erupted with the intensity of a firecracker lighting up the night sky on Independence Day. Father's voice raised, passionately speaking of the importance of family loyalty and accountability. Me raising my voice about dignity and chances. Mother attempted to mediate the situation as Blake sat back, a self-satisfied grin plastered across his face, fully engrossed in the show. When your stubbornness reached its peak, Dad finally lost his patience. Then venture forth and embrace the life in your humble abode. All fell quiet in the kitchen. Mom's eyes grew wide with surprise. Even Blake appeared taken aback. Once upon a time, there was a character named James. Mother began. Yet Father raised his hand. No. He yearns to carve his own path. Very well. He has the ability to accomplish it in another place. I stood there, a wave of disbelief washing over me, as if the air had been knocked from my lungs. For generations, a Mitchells had called this ranch home, and here I was, being cast aside over a piece of land I hadn't even laid eyes on yet. Very well. I spoke, my voice firm, and I sensed. This evening, I shall make my way there. I began to walk away, not wishing for them to witness the depth of my pain. Ethan, hold on a moment. Mother reached out. Come, let us ascend to the upper realm. In my room, she observed quietly as I tossed clothes into a duffel bag. At last, she vanished for a moment, only to return with a cardboard box in her hands. The lizards may find your education far more valuable than your father does at this moment. I found myself at the age of 24. At that age, I found myself being ejected as if I were a rebellious youth caught swiping a cold one from the fridge. After years spent in college, pursuing a degree in modern agricultural practices, I found myself with an inheritance that consisted of nothing but rocks, dust, and a trailer that had likely seen more seasons than I had lived. As I drove away from the only home I had ever known, the experience felt like a dream, a moment suspended in time. In my rearview mirror, the ranch house faded into the distance, shrinking until it vanished behind a gentle hill. I had the coordinates entered into my phone, guiding me toward my new estate. Once, I recalled Grandpa sharing the tale of how he acquired that land in the 70s for just a handful of coins. They all chuckled at his expense, declaring it the most pointless acquisition since someone had bought the majestic Brooklyn Bridge. With a knowing smile, he simply replied, "You'll see." What had he witnessed in that desolate expanse of Texas? What was I meant to witness? After a journey of about an hour, we finally arrived at the property. The final stretch of 5 miles unfolded not on a well-paved road, but rather along a rugged dirt track. That made my Chevy leap and jolt like a wild mechanical bull. Indeed, it's a mystery why anyone would desire this location. One could hardly approach it without flirting with the danger of suspension. As my GPS chimed in with its announcement, I found myself on the brink of a new adventure. Upon reaching my destination, I found myself sitting in silence, lost in thought. 25 acres of pure emptiness. A vast expanse of flat, red-brown earth unfolds endlessly, reaching out in every direction. A handful of scraggly mesquite trees and cacti scattered across the landscape, appearing as if they were pleading for water. Ah, the legacy that awaits! 25. Fields of golden sun and swirling dust, I whispered. Grandpa must have believed I was a little lizard at heart. The trailer rested a good 50 yards from where I had. A weathered silver single wide, likely hailing from the early 1980s. It featured a quaint wooden porch affixed to the front, leaning ever so slightly to one side, reminiscent of a tipsy soul attempting to maintain an air of composure. With bags in hand, I set off towards my new mansion, anticipation bubbling within me. The key Wilson had given me worked. Yet the door required a hearty push. Within, the air was thick with the scent of aged timber and the lingering aroma of Grandpa's cigars. It was modest in size yet remarkably tidy. A quaint kitchenette adorned with time-worn appliances, each telling a tale of culinary adventures past. A space that breathes life with a well-loved couch and a television that likely still sported rabbit ears. A bedroom, just spacious enough to accommodate the double bed. A bathroom that seemed to have a story of its own. Under the waves, a vessel of mystery and adventure awaits. On the small dining table sat a cassette player, a genuine cassette player, complete with tape. Within the confines of the box, a label bore the names of Ethan and Grandpa, written in a hand that trembled with age and memories. I pressed play, bracing myself for the possibility that it might devour the tape. Instead, the warm timbre of Grandpa's voice enveloped the tiny trailer. Once upon a time, there was a character named Ethan. If you're hearing this, I've gone to join your grandma, and you're settling into your new home, likely pondering whether I've lost my marbles. Perhaps I have, but I've observed your journey, witnessing the evolution of your thoughts. You embrace the art of seeing the world through a unique lens. Those around us perceive only the surface, the familiar outlines of what exists. Imagine the possibilities that lie ahead. Embrace the possibility of appearing foolish, young one. Those who dare to be different shape the world. The clever ones simply keep it going. Your father and Blake, they are the guardians of the craft. There's nothing amiss with that, yet you are a force of transformation. The land beyond, it yearns for a discerning eye to uncover its true worth. I have a feeling that someone is you. The tape came to a halt. I stood there, cradling the player, as if Grandpa was right there beside me, sharing in the moment. What on earth had the old man witnessed in this desolate expanse? I stepped back outside as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows across my realm of emptiness. The sky transformed into a rich purple, gradually deepening into a profound blue, as stars emerged, twinkling into existence one after another. There's no light pollution in this vast expanse, only me and 25 acres filled with wonder and curiosity. I pulled a metal chair from the porch and settled into it, gazing out at my land bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight. Devoid of life, barren, without purpose. A realm that envelopes you in its vastness, leaving you with a sense of humility beneath the countless stars above. My family believed I had lost my mind for choosing not to sell. Perhaps I was. Perhaps sorrow had tangled my thoughts. Yet, there was an undeniable quality to Grandpa's voice on that tape, a certain way he expressed that the land was yearning for someone to recognize its true worth. A lingering sensation tugged at me, whispering that there was a deeper truth hidden beneath the surface. The sun is the engine of the world, I whispered, echoing Grandpa's cherished words. It had always echoed like one of those empty sayings from the elderly, filled with the weight of time yet lacking substance. Yet here I am, perched upon this sun-kissed land, lost in thought. I retreated indoors as the temperature fell, the desert night chill creeping into my very bones. The trailer's heater rattled inside, yet, in time, it delivered a comforting stream of warm air. I reclined in my bed, attuned to the strange symphony of utter emptiness surrounding me. Silence envelopes the scene, where the only companions are the whispering wind and the faint, far-off call of a coyote. My legacy consisted of 25 acres of emptiness, a trailer that had seen more years than I had, and a gathering of stones. As I surrendered to the embrace of sleep, an unusual thought began to weave its way through my mind. What if Grandpa was simply misunderstood all along? The first light kissed my face, a gentle embrace that felt like a warm slap. There are no curtains in the trailer. The sun became my new alarm clock. I let out a low groan and turned over, my body still getting used to Grandpa's old mattress that creaked with each breath I took. 2 weeks into my new life as a desert hermit, and I found myself caught in a perplexing web, unsure if I was navigating a nightmare or merely wandering through an extraordinarily strange dream. My morning routine had transformed into a rather unremarkable affair. Awake with the dawn, I set the kettle on the propane stove for a quick cup of coffee, settling onto the creaky porch steps, pondering the perplexities of my existence. My agricultural degree lay forgotten, gathering dust next to Grandpa's rock collection, as I dined on beans straight from the can, reminiscent of a post-apocalyptic survivor. Yet, I must confess, the sunrise out here was truly something extraordinary. No structures or foliage to obstruct it. A radiant cascade of golden light sweeping over endless stretches of barren terrain. The realm I call my own. All 25 acres of it, utterly devoid of value. Following a week of wallowing in self-pity, I began to venture out, driven largely by boredom and a flickering curiosity about what wonders Grandpa might have discovered in this desolate expanse. The land lay mostly flat, gently sloping down toward the south, inviting tales of the sun's journey across the horizon. The earth lay firm beneath, a blend of sand and clay, steadfast and unyielding. There was nothing extraordinary, yet Grandpa's voice from that cassette lingered in my ears. The land beyond, it yearns for a discerning eye to uncover its true worth. What significance? Only the scrub brush and a handful of forlorn cacti populated this barren landscape, where the sun blazed fiercely enough to cook an egg on a rock, a daring experiment I undertook on the 9th day of my desert exile. It was a success, by the way. It was a mere 4 minutes. I chose to approach things with a systematic mindset. My college professors would surely beam with pride. I began to take measurements, gathering soil samples, observing sun exposure, and taking temperature readings. In the quaint town of Millerville, with a modest population of 2,346, I stumbled upon a budget-friendly weather station at Walmart. This charming place proudly boasts the title of home to the finest pecan pie west of the Mississippi, as declared by their welcoming sign. The temperature readings soared to astonishing heights, often reaching a blistering 110 degrees Fahrenheit under the relentless sun. Even in the shade, the scant cover offered by the scraggly mesquite trees was a mere whisper of relief. The heat was so intense, it could make even the devil break a sweat. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the evening, I found myself on my porch, cradling a chilled beer in my hand. It had been 2.5 weeks of reflection, and I was deep in thought about the paths I had chosen. Just then, my phone buzzed, breaking the tranquil moment. Tommy Martinez, my companion from those unforgettable college days. We had journeyed through the agricultural program side by side, yet he found himself in a comfortable position at his uncle's farm equipment dealership in Houston. Ethan, the solitary dweller of the desolate lands. Are you still out there, breathing in the world around you? Have there been any encounters with rattlesnakes or tales of alien abductions? Listening to a warm, inviting voice stirred something deep within me. Still alive. No rattlesnakes have appeared on my journey so far, but I find myself forging a bond with a lizard along the way. It seems to me that she is casting her gaze upon the decisions I've made in my life. Tommy chuckled heartily. Pray tell, how is the grand abode in the desert faring for you? I shared the tale of my melancholic life as the sunset brushed the horizon with hues of orange and pink that no filter could ever capture. What's your tale, my friend? Are you planning to part with that dust bowl and return to the comforts of civilization? In that moment of uncertainty, I paused. Not at this moment. There's an enchanting quality to this place. I'm uncertain. Grandpa was wise beyond his years. He must have seen something in this land, a spark of value that I have yet to uncover. Perhaps it was simply the last gift he had to offer you. Not everyone weaves a grand tapestry of intentions, Ethan. I let out a deep breath. Perhaps, but I still have a tale to tell, and I'm not ready to close this chapter just yet. It was at that moment that Tommy revealed the shocking truth that it would transform everything. Imagine, just for a moment, that you could be perched atop a treasure trove, completely unaware of the riches that lie beneath the surface. Not actual gold, but then again, who can say with your eccentric grandpa? But have you heard about the government? Are they offering substantial grants for green energy initiatives in rural regions such as yours? I sat up. More direct. What type of grants are available? Solar farms, wind energy, that sort of thing. My cousin's company recently received a substantial tax break for installing solar panels on some seemingly unproductive land. Land beyond the vibrant city of Austin. And, my friend, your land is bathed in nothing but sunlight. It resembles a retreat for the sun, nestled down there. A realization sparked within me. Once upon a time, there was a radiant orb in the sky, casting its golden light upon the world. Forever the radiant sun. Grandpa's voice resonated in my mind. The sun drives the very heart of our world, my boy. My goodness, what has transpired? Did Grandpa know this all along? Had he acquired this land back in the 70s, foreseeing that one day it could it truly hold worth simply for being a sun-baked wasteland? I dedicated the following 3 days to an immersive quest for knowledge, venturing into town to tap into the library's internet connection, as my own was unavailable. The trailer was lacking, to say the least. The deeper I delved into the pages, the more my excitement grew. In Texas, the sun's embrace was igniting a vibrant surge in solar energy. The realm possessed more sunlight than it could fathom, and enterprises were racing to establish solar farms to address the increasing needs for energy. Though my 25 acres may not stand as the largest solar farm in Texas, they hold the promise of generating a respectable livelihood. Once upon a time, there existed a treasure trove of federal and state grants, waiting to be discovered, to help ease the burdens of startup costs for those daring enough to embark on renewable energy projects. I sat in my car, parked outside the library, with my phone pressed against my ear, whispering to bring Tommy back. What would be the investment required to establish a modest solar farm? Is it just the simplest form? Tommy let out a cheerful whistle through his teeth. Are we discussing home use or commercial use? A captivating narrative unfolds, transferring energy to the grid. What's the general idea? At least $100,000 for something truly deserving of the effort, yet the grants could significantly alleviate the burden. I possessed a sum of roughly $3,000. So, in essence, what I seek is nothing short of a miracle, I declared, or perhaps a bank that truly understands, has faith in you, or those who seek to invest, or a wealthy relative you haven't angered just yet. I embarked on a journey of experimentation by planting corn. One weekend, I decided to embark on a little adventure, curious to discover if anything could truly flourish in this soil. It was utterly absurd. Is that so? Here I am, armed with my agricultural degree, diving into the simplest farming tasks in conditions that would surely leave seasoned farmers in stitches. A week later, I found myself gazing down at the withered, sorrowful remnants of my corn seedlings. They had given their all to cultivate the earth, yet this land proved to be an insurmountable challenge, a true nemesis to their agricultural dreams. I found myself chuckling at my own antics. The sole elements flourishing in this place are perspiration and aspirations. The following day, I acquired more seedlings, exploring different varieties this time, and ventured to try again in a new location. They met their end even swifter. With great care, I poured the precious water onto a test patch. The earth drank deeply, and just an hour later, it appeared as though it had never known the touch of water. I quenched the earth's thirst and expressed my gratitude, yet my heart longed for the warmth of the sun on my skin. I recounted to my lizard companion, who had pilfered a watch during my unsuccessful experiments from a nearby rock. She flicked her tongue, and I took it as a gesture of sympathy. Each evening, I would immerse myself in yet another one of Grandpa's cassettes. He had captured countless moments throughout the years, snippets of wisdom and tales from his journey. Some bore dates, while others carried enigmatic titles such as The Future or Remember This. One night, I slipped in the tape Mark's been watching. Individuals perceive only what aligns with their desires, Ethan. Grandpa's raspy voice echoed through the trailer, yet one must seek out what truly exists beneath the surface. Your father perceives the land solely as a realm for cattle to roam. Blake perceives only the things that shine for him to boast about, yet true worth often lies beneath the surface, hidden from plain sight. At times, it lurks right before our eyes, much like a gem glistening under the sun's warm embrace. I lingered in the shadows, turning over that final phrase, a gem glimmering in the light. Was he speaking in earnest or weaving a deeper meaning? With Grandpa, it was a challenge to discern. The following morning, I found myself once again in the library, diving into the world of solar farm grants, fueled by a fresh wave of enthusiasm. Life settled into an unusual cadence. Throughout the day, I dedicated myself to enhancing the trailer, mending a leaky pipe, strengthening the porch steps, and clearing away the remnants of years past, the tumbleweeds that had settled in. With careful precision, I would gather more measurements of my land, tracing the sun's journey across the sky, noting the temperatures, all in an effort to weave a compelling narrative about why this place holds the promise of solar energy. Every few days, I would venture into Millerville to gather supplies and connect to the internet. The locals began to see me as the grandson of Henry Mitchell, the one with the wild desert land. Some regarded me with a sense of pity, while others found amusement in my situation. Old-timers would occasionally pause to recount tales of Grandpa, how he always believed that land would one day hold great worth, and how everyone thought he was just a bit off his rocker. As darkness fell, I would find myself perched on my porch, gazing up at a sky adorned with stars so radiant and plentiful they seemed almost unreal, as if a cascade of silver glitter had been scattered across a canvas of deep black velvet. The stillness enveloped the landscape, untouched by the hustle of humanity, save for the distant, haunting calls of coyotes echoing through the night. Under that vast sky, it was difficult to shake the feeling of insignificance, and I couldn't help but question whether I was pursuing a dream that was destined to be folly. Yet, in that moment, Grandpa's unwavering confidence would come flooding back to me. The manner in which he expressed that the land was poised, yearning for someone to recognize its true worth. The sensation lingered, a haunting whisper in my mind, that he had orchestrated every moment with precision when he abandoned me in this sun-drenched expanse of emptiness. Following 3 weeks of diligent research and meticulous planning, I found myself poised to submit my application for a renewable energy grant from the Department of Energy. The application loomed large, a formidable challenge ahead. Envisioning the future through financial projections, exploring the depths of environmental impact assessments, and charting the course with grid connection feasibility studies. Each day, I dedicated myself to the task, drawing from templates and guides I discovered in the vast expanse of the internet. I reached out to college friends, those with a deeper understanding of the business realm, seeking their insights and support. "Wow, you're really diving into this," Tommy remarked during one of our conversations. He had taken on the role of my unofficial advisor, linking me with individuals well-versed in solar installations. What options lie before me? Return to my family with a sense of defeat? Serve Blake for all my days. Imagine the possibilities if you were to part with the land. The funds could be the spark for a new adventure, a fresh beginning waiting to unfold. I reclined in my chair, gazing up at the ceiling of the trailer. Yet if I chose that path, the truth of Grandpa's words would forever remain a mystery to me. At long last, after almost a month of dedicated effort, the application was finished. As I made my way into town, the library beckoned with its promise of a dependable internet connection. I meticulously went through each form field, ensuring every detail was just right. With all the necessary documents securely attached, I took a deep breath and pressed submit on the Department of Energy's online portal. A confirmation email swiftly arrived in my inbox. The librarian, Margaret, who had been guiding me through my research, offered me a warm and encouraging smile. "Significant submission, esteemed. Perhaps the most significant message I've ever shared," I confessed. With a playful wink, she sent good thoughts my way, and for the first time since the reading of the will, a flicker of hope ignited within me, suggesting that perhaps, just perhaps, fortune was finally favoring me. The anticipation set in. It may take 6 to 8 weeks to receive a response, as stated on the website. I made an effort to push it from my mind. Strived to immerse myself in enhancing the trailer, meticulously measuring the land, seeking any distraction to keep my thoughts engaged. Yet, hope can be a treacherous companion. Once upon a time, it began as a mere seed, but with each passing day beneath the unwavering Texas sun, it blossomed just a bit more. Perhaps this wild idea might just succeed. Perhaps there was a certain logic to Grandpa's madness, after all. Almost 7 weeks had passed when I found myself at the town library, sifting through my emails, when suddenly, a notification appeared before me. A fresh communication has arrived from the Department of Energy. Subject line: Rural Renewable Energy Grant Application Number 4872. My heart soared, finding its way to my throat. This was the moment, the revelation that would either affirm my unwavering faith in Grandpa's dream or reveal that I had been pursuing an illusion all along. I gazed intently at the unopened email displayed on the screen. A part of me yearned to click it right away. Another part was filled with dread at the thought of knowing. What if they turned me away? What shall I do then? My savings were fading away. The trailer was in need of more repairs than my budget could handle. My agriculture degree was gathering dust. I had severed ties with my family over this piece of land. I saved the email to peruse later, when solitude enveloped me, as I made my way back to the trailer. As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the world in hues of gold and amber, I found myself on the porch, laptop in hand, surrounded by my 25 acres of dreams and struggles. In that moment, Grandpa's spirit enveloped me, as real as the warmth that kissed my skin. What shall I do now, Grandpa? I softly spoke to the vast, silent desert. The wind began to stir, weaving its way through the mesquite trees, producing a sound reminiscent of a gentle sigh. The moment had arrived to discover whether I had been a fool or a visionary. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow around me, I felt the weight of my future resting in the words of this email. I inhaled deeply, my finger poised above the trackpad, ready to embark on a new chapter. As I hovered over the email, my curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked it open. My gaze darted through the dense thicket of official language, bypassing the tangled paragraphs of bureaucratic jargon until I finally unearthed it. We are delighted to share the wonderful news that your application for the Rural Renewable Energy Initiative grant has been approved, granting you the impressive sum of $100,000. It took me 3 readings for it to truly resonate. They agreed. They truly embraced the idea. I stepped out of the trailer and onto the porch, laptop clutched in my hands, gazing at my empty 25 acres as if I were witnessing them for the very first time. The setting sun draped the world in a golden hue. The very dirt that once brought laughter to my brother now shimmered with the promise of transformation, radiating the allure of hidden treasure waiting to be unveiled. You were aware, weren't you, you eccentric old fellow? I spoke to the stillness around me, envisioning Grandpa with his familiar crooked smile, as if he were right there beside me. You were aware from the very beginning. The ensuing weeks unfolded in a whirlwind. The funds from the grant would remain locked away until I managed to secure further financing and presented the final plans. So I plunged deeply into the realm of the small financial assistance for enterprises. It appears that financial institutions show a greater eagerness to engage with you when you have the backing of a government gift in your pocket. In Millerville, the First National took a chance on me in the vast desert. Using the grant as a powerful tool, they greenlit a loan of $250,000. With that and the grant, I found myself with $350,000 to bring my solar dream to life. Once upon a time, I set forth on a grand adventure, placing an order for 500 solar panels, inverters, mounts, and a vast expanse of cable that could stretch all the way from Texas to Oklahoma. Tommy introduced me to his cousin's installation company for consulting, and I brought on a local electrical engineer to assistance with the grid connection plans. As the first trucks rolled in, brimming with equipment, the townsfolk gathered, their curiosity piqued. 3 companions. A person from town, recently laid off from the oil fields, inquired if I required assistance. They chuckled softly as I shared the vision of my creation. Are you aiming to follow in the footsteps of someone like Elon Musk? One of them inquired, sending a stream of tobacco juice into the parched earth. I decided to bring them on board regardless. It turned out they were exceptionally skilled workers once they ceased to find humor. I've never toiled so intensely in my existence. Awake before the sun graces the horizon, laboring in the earth to carve out trenches for cables, erecting sturdy posts to stand tall. For the panel mounts, wiring inverters. My agricultural degree finally proved its worth as I navigated the challenge of minimizing soil erosion beneath the panels. My hands became rough and coarse, like sandpaper. My neck bears the marks of the sun, a testament to the countless gallons of sunscreen I applied, yet still, it remains permanently sunburned. Yet each night, I would sink into my bed, overwhelmed by a sensation I hadn't experienced since before returning home from college. Meaning. This was my domain. My tale. My narrative unfolds. As the engineer from the power company arrived to connect us to the grid, he shook his head in disbelief, a look of astonishment crossing his face. He gazed over my installation, a hint of disbelief in his voice as he remarked, "I never thought I'd see the day when someone would make Henry Mitchell's desert patch worth something. Your grandpa spun tales of this land's unique potential for 3 decades. All believed he was gently brushed upon the head." A smile crept across my face as I reminisced about those cassette tapes, each one holding its own enigmatic tale. He was a visionary, always stepping into the future before others could even dream of it. That moment when we flipped the switch and the system roared to life was truly unparalleled. As the lights in the trailer flickered to life, powered by the energy harnessed from my own panels, a triumphant scream erupted from me, echoing the exhilaration of a championship victory. With a gentle pop, I opened a beer and lifted it high to the fading light of the sun. "Salutations, dear Grandpa." The engine hums to life. A month later, the first check from the power company arrived. $3,047.82 for the energy my farm had contributed to the grid. I carefully framed it and hung it in the trailer, letting it tell its own tale on the wall. As the 6-month milestone approached, the operation began to flow seamlessly. I had already grown to around 1,000 panels, pouring every extra dollar I could muster back into the venture. The system was now weaving together a tapestry of around. With a monthly income of $6,000, after settling loan payments and covering maintenance costs, I found myself bringing home more than I ever would have earned working alongside my dad and Blake. As I reflect on family, it strikes me that they haven't reached out to me even once. Whispers floated through the town, carrying tales of Blake's new irrigation system that had met a dramatic fate, resulting in the flooding of Hathipicon Orchard. A part of me yearned to share my insights and guidance. A larger piece recalled how he had chuckled at my legacy. Rather, I directed my attention towards growth. Once upon a time, the Department of Energy unveiled a new grant program, designed especially for those solar operations that were eager to grow and expand their reach. Building on the triumph of my initial phase as a testament to what's possible, I sought out and obtained an additional $200,000 in grant funding. 1 year after that first email, my solar farm blossomed with 5,000 panels stretching across 15 of my 25 acres. I had ventured into the realm of an additional $500,000 loan, a choice that haunted my nights, yet resonated deeply within my intuition. The sound of Grandpa's voice on those old tapes filled me with courage. All great things begin as tiny seeds, much like the sun rising at the break of day. The risk bore fruit. My monthly income soared to approximately $35,000. Once the expenses and loan payments were settled, I found myself making room to pursue additional growth. The regional power company began referring to my operation as their golden vein. Dependable and pure energy in a region where the grid's strength had been tested. At long last, I bid farewell to the old trailer and welcomed a sleek, modern modular home into my life. Simple, yet dependable, with plumbing that worked as it should and air conditioning that hummed rather than wheezed. I preserved Grandpa's trailer, nestled at the edge of the property, transforming it into a tribute to him and his dreams. I hung a hand-painted sign on it that read, "Here stood an old a dreamer who placed their faith in the sun and emerged victorious." Throughout this period, I seldom ventured beyond the confines of the property, save for the occasional supply run. My social life weaves together the occasional calls with Tommy and the lively exchanges with my colleagues. Once upon a time, 3 individuals from the oil fields transitioned into full-time roles, welcoming 4 new companions from the town into their fold. They ceased their laughter as the rhythm of their paychecks began to flow steadily. After a year and a half of hard work, I reached yet another significant milestone: 15,000 panels. The journey of expansion called for the arrival of mighty machinery, the enhancement of transmission capabilities, and the welcoming of new team members into the fold. The operation had blossomed into a thriving enterprise, now standing as the foremost employer in Millerville. The mayor, once doubtful of that Mitchell boy's wild son scheme, now reached out to me frequently to discuss the promising future of our town's renewable initiatives. Incredible how triumph reshapes the way individuals see the world. My income found its steady rhythm, settling at $105,000 each month. I may not have been a billionaire, but for a kid who had been cast out from his family home with nothing but a box of belongings and a worthless patch of dirt, it felt like hitting the jackpot. I cleared my student loans, established a solid retirement fund, and even contributed to the library that had been my connection to the world in those formative times. Margaret, the librarian who had guided me through the labyrinth of solar grants, shed tears of joy when I secured the funding for a comprehensive technology upgrade for their library. She said that your grandpa would be filled with pride. He would wander in here, immersing himself in tales of alternative energy, while the rest of the world remained captivated by the allure of oil. They believed he was merely an eccentric elder. It dawned on me with a sudden clarity: he had been orchestrating this from the very beginning. In the 70s, he acquired that land, fully aware that one day it would be ideal for solar energy. Perhaps, Margaret smiled, or perhaps he simply understood you would be the one to unravel. The news of my operation began to circulate. Landowners with properties deemed worthless began to seek my counsel. A professor from my old college guided students on a tour of the facility, weaving a narrative around the themes of rural economic development. Even a handful of investors from Dallas journeyed down to see if they could snag a slice of the excitement. I earned my reputation as the trailer guy who discovered treasure in the desert. As vehicles glided past, their movement was deliberate and unhurried. The dusty path stretched before me, my eyes wide as I took in the expanse of dark panels basking under the relentless Texas sun. It was quite amusing to see some locals embarking on the adventure of selling solar tours to visitors from afar. I am a force of vitality. Magnate. During one of our calls, I shared a light-hearted jest with Tommy. My boss is a son, never requesting bonuses or vacation time. Tommy let out a hearty laugh. Ah, my friend, you are truly embracing the essence of life's grand adventure. Do you have any lingering thoughts about not selling that land? I gazed out my window at the shimmering panels that spanned across what many had deemed mere worthless dirt. Not a single one. The people in town believed you had lost your mind, Tommy remarked. Now they're all inquiring if there are any job openings. Isn't it amusing how that unfolds? At this moment, a reporter from the San Antonio Express-News reached out to me regarding a feature story. She had caught wind of the solar triumph in the desert, and felt compelled to capture the tale of its transformation. I found myself in agreement, primarily because I believed Grandpa would take great delight in witnessing his vision come to life. In print. On a vibrant day, Jessica, the reporter, immersed herself in the operation, weaving through its intricacies and engaging in a dialogue with me about the origins of it all. I took her to see Grandpa's trailer at the museum, shared some of his tapes, and recounted how everyone had chuckled at my inheritance. So you transformed nothing into something, she remarked, capturing images of me positioned among the panels. Indeed, I set her straight. My grandfather had always sensed it deep down. I simply had to witness what he beheld. 2 weeks later, the article emerged with the captivating headline, "From Zero to Solar Hero, How One Man's." What once seemed like a burden transformed into a treasure trove of clean energy potential. The narrative featured images of myself, the solar farm, and even a glimpse of one of Grandpa's cherished cassette tapes. It recounted the journey of how I turned discarded land into a thriving multi-million-dollar venture, illuminating the lives of thousands of homes with clean energy. As I settled into my kitchen, a warm cup of coffee in hand and the digital article glowing on my tablet, the notifications began to cascade in, one after another. Friends from college, former professors, and acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly began to like and share the tale. At that moment, my phone chimed with a call. The number rang a bell, yet it wasn't stored in my contacts. No longer. I allowed it to slip into the realm of voicemail. A tale unfolded. I came across the article. Remarkable. Once upon a time, there was a character named Blake. I placed my phone aside, caught in a swirl of emotions, uncertain of what to feel next. After 2 years of silence, a part of me now yearned to turn a blind eye to it all. Once more, I find myself reminiscing about those cherished Sunday dinners and the joyful childhood games of catch. Just as I was about to make my choice, the phone rang once more. Mother, this moment. Greetings. I responded, my voice echoing oddly in my own ears. Ethan, my dear. A glimpse of the newspaper article caught our attention. Your father and I felt an immense pride in all that you have accomplished. Completed with Grandpa's land? Filled with a sense of accomplishment. After casting me aside. After 2 long years without a single call. I held my tongue, unsure of my ability to reply. We were curious if perhaps you would be interested in. Would you like to join us for dinner this weekend? Let's reconnect. I gazed out the window of my solar empire, a creation born from my hard work and Grandpa's visionary wisdom. I shall ponder it further. At last I uttered, after ending the call. I lingered there, my coffee mug spinning in gentle circles upon the countertop, lost in thought. The article lay open on my tablet. My own visage gazes back at me beside the striking headline. As I reflected on the tapestry of life, I found myself pondering the intricate threads of family, the power of forgiveness, the weight of pride, and the unexpected journeys that unfold before us. The crunch of gravel beneath tires broke the silence, drawing me back from my wandering thoughts. Perhaps it's one of the maintenance crew arriving early, or perhaps another inquisitive local drawn in by the allure of the solar setup. Gather around, for the tale of the farm draws near, where life flourishes and the world feels close. Suddenly, a knock echoed through the air, beckoning attention at the door. I found myself taken by surprise, as I had anticipated solitude. My workers possessed their unique entrance codes, and suppliers typically reached out in advance. Setting down my coffee, I strolled to the door, curiosity bubbling within me about who might have ventured all the way out here without a word of warning. Beyond the glass panel, a silhouette emerged, one that stirred a sense of familiarity deep within me. My hand lingered on the doorknob, my heart quietly racing as if I were once more 24. As I stood outside the lawyer's office, anticipation coursed through me, ready to uncover the secrets of what Grandpa had left behind. Another knock, this one more urgent, echoed through the silence. Taking a moment to gather my thoughts, I turned the handle and stepped through the threshold, ready to embrace the unfolding journey ahead. I flung the door wide, and there he was, Blake, standing right before me. My brother appeared much like the familiar landscape, clad in worn jeans and a faded work shirt with sleeves rolled up, his hands still bearing the calluses of daily ranch toil. Yet, his gaze had transformed entirely. Fewer jests. More strategic, obviously seeking a perspective. "Hey, little brother," he said, as though the 2 years of silence that lay between us had simply vanished into thin air. "What an intriguing arrangement you have here." I found myself torn between the urge to embrace him warmly or to shut the door with a resounding thud right in front of him. Instead, I simply moved aside and welcomed him in. Blake whistled as he strolled through my humble yet fresh abode, surveying each detail as if he were crafting a mental catalogue of the scene before him. As he approached the back windows that framed the view of the solar farm, he came to a halt. "I've got to give you credit, Ethan. When Dad cast you out, I imagined you'd return within a month, pleading for your old room once more. Yet this?" With a sweeping motion, he pointed to the radiant panels that reached out to meet the horizon. "This is truly remarkable." "Coffee?" I inquired, already making my way to the kitchen. I sought a task to occupy my hands. "Of course," Blake replied, his gaze fixed on the world beyond the glass. "Pray tell, what is the true value of this place in the present moment?" And there it was, just a mere 5 minutes after stepping inside. As we gathered around my kitchen table, the warm afternoon sun poured in through the windows, casting a golden glow over our conversation. Blake bombarded me with inquiries about the solar farm. How many panels are there? What type of result? What was the amount the power company was compensating me? I responded with ambiguity, observing as his expression shifted to one of mounting frustration. "Behold," he finally spoke, placing his coffee mug down with a deliberate motion. "My purpose extends beyond mere catching up. My father entrusted me with this task. I had a feeling it would turn out this way," I responded. The article in the paper sparked a lively discussion among everyone. "Father has been having discussions with our attorney. He believes that Grandpa should be given a second thought." I chuckle in silence. "Have you thought it over?" For it was revealed that the land held great worth, indeed. "That doesn't sit well, Ethan. That land was woven into the fabric of the family legacy. It ought to have been divided justly. It was divided quite evenly. You all received what you desired. The flourishing ranch land, the tools of the trade, the homestead. I received what no one else desired." Blake leaned in, eager to share the unfolding tale. "Ah, but therein lies the crux of the matter. No one truly understood its true value. Along with me." I called it to his attention. I unraveled the mystery. I embraced the uncertainty. From the void, I crafted something remarkable. He reclined, observing me intently. Father's determination will not wane on this matter. He weaves a tale of defiance, asserting that Grandpa's mind was not as steady as it should have been. The proposal ignited a fire within me, yet I maintained a calm demeanor. Grandpa remained as keen as ever right up until his final day. All the folks in town are well aware of that. Blake simply shrugged, a gesture that spoke volumes without uttering a single word. Legal disputes often unfold in a dramatic and costly manner. There it stood, a moment frozen in time. The menace? His concern was subtly concealed. Inform Dad if he wishes to squander his funds on attorneys. That is his craft. But I have truly earned this, Blake. Just and honest. With the last sip of coffee consumed, my brother rose to his feet. Consider it, Ethan. There are simpler paths to find a resolution to this matter. My father and I shall keep the lines of communication open. Once he departed, I lingered at the kitchen table, solitude enveloping me as I pondered the heaviness of his words that lingered in the atmosphere. The serene existence I had crafted for myself was on the brink of becoming intricate. The following day, Dad arrived with a mom accompanying him. There was no forewarning. There it was, the unmistakable sound of their truck rolling up to my house right around noon. Mother arrived with a freshly baked apple pie, its warmth still radiating from the crust. Father arrived with a stern look etched on his face, a folder securely nestled beneath his arm. Your mother was curious to know how you've been faring lately. Father spoke, offering a warm welcome. Mom embraced me fiercely, her eyes glistening with tears. Ah, Ethan, what a splendid sight this place presents. It's been too long since we last crossed paths. We lingered in an uncomfortable silence around my kitchen table, the pie sitting untouched in the space that separated us. Mom spoke with a hint of anxiety, weaving tales of cousins and neighbors. Narratives of individuals from my hometown, as if my absence had been merely a brief getaway instead of a 2-year exile. Father often remained quiet, his gaze drifting now and then to the solar panels outside the window. At last, he took a moment to clear his throat. My dear boy, it is time we have a conversation about the land that holds our stories. Mom's words faded away, leaving a silence that hung in the air. What is it about? I inquired, fully aware of the path this was destined to take. Father gently set the folder down on the table, nudging it in my direction. These documents have been provided by our legal counsel. I left the folder untouched. What's this all about, Dad? The land that belonged to your grandfather. The setup lacked equity. None of us understood the true value of what we had. I was in the dark as well. I indicated. Everyone believed it held no value, didn't they? With you in mind? Merely stones and soil. Isn't that what you mentioned? Father's jaw clenched. That was a time long past. Seasons shift. Grandpa's deserve to be explored anew, considering the fresh insights we have gained. I chuckle with delight. I was powerless to resist. Fresh insights? Are you referring to the revelation that it held worth in the end? That's not the way inheritances function. We're family, Mom interjected, her voice filled with urgency. Ethan, dear, you truly belong here. This fortune ought to enrich each and every one of us. I gazed upon the pristine pie. Mom had brought dessert, yet the recipe for justice slipped her mind. Some things remained constant. In that moment, surrounded by the echoes of family, you gathered my belongings and stood by as I drove away into the unknown. I asked softly, where was this family talk then? A week later, an official letter arrives from the family lawyer, proposing a reconsideration of Grandpa's will that could serve both parties well. It suggested the possibility of legal battles looming on the horizon should a friendly agreement fail to materialize. Blake reached out the following day, bringing his own perspective to the table. Listen, this doesn't need to turn into a mess, he remarked. I'm contemplating a collaboration. What you have created is truly remarkable. However, let's be honest, this kind of operation is not something you can tackle by yourself. You are a major in agriculture, not a merchant. I gazed at the phone, a wave of disbelief washing over me. Collaboration? It seems you won't be joining me as my partner at this moment. It resonates. I possess valuable connections and a wealth of experience in managing the ranch. Do you have this under control? United, we can reach new horizons. I recalled the moment when Blake's laughter echoed through the solemnity of the funeral. Grandpa has granted you a special place in the depths below. His eyes had glimmered with a playful mockery then, now they shimmer with an insatiable greed. Have you joined forces with the sun yet? I inquired because it holds a central role in this endeavor. He remained silent. The moment took a dramatic turn as Mom arrived by herself, her cheeks glistening with tears that flowed freely. It was evident that she had been chosen to play the role of the emotional negotiator. Your father is sharing tales about the courtroom? Ethan, I implore you, let us not reach that point. We remain united as a family, regardless of the past events that have unfolded. I guided her to the brink of the solar farm, where Grandpa's weathered trailer stood, a testament to the origins of it all. Within the confines of that space, I shared with her one of his recordings. The essence of land lies in the care and effort you invest, rather than in the resources you extract from it. Grandpa's voice danced through the speakers, a familiar crackle that brought stories to life. Keep this in mind, Ethan. A man who only looks to take from the earth will forever be poorer than the one who envisions what he can bring forth. Mom dabbed at her eyes. He possessed an enchanting ability to weave words together. He was weaving a tale that went beyond the fields. He spoke of life, weaving tales that danced through the air. The confrontation unfolded on a scorching August afternoon. In the fading light of the evening, Dad, Blake, and their lawyer arrived in the old, dusty pickup truck, its worn exterior telling tales of countless journeys taken together. Mother was notably missing. At my kitchen table, we gathered, the lawyer weaving words with fervor, guiding the conversation. Expressions such as kinship balance and just allocation of unexpected treasures, intertwined with ominous warnings of lengthy legal struggles that could deplete resources for all involved. As he finally took a breath, I rose and made my way to the window. Join me on this journey, I beckoned. Each and every one of you. With a purposeful stride, I guided them into the sweltering embrace of the Texas sun, weaving through the orderly ranks of radiant solar panels that danced in harmony with the sun's journey across the vast expanse of the sky. The lawyer was drenched in sweat, his dress shirt clinging to him by the time we arrived at the old trailer. 2 years ago, this place was merely a canvas of dirt and rocks, waiting for a tale to unfold. I commanded, turn and confront them. You cast me aside for standing firm against selling what you deemed to be of no value. Now that it holds significance, you feel compelled to share. Blake began to share his thoughts, yet I raised my hand to pause him. At first, I too failed to recognize the potential, but Grandpa saw it clearly. I was ready to invest my effort when everyone else had already dismissed this place. I gestured towards the infinite lines of panels. The sun eluded your gaze. All you could see was the dust swirling around. The lawyer took a moment to clear his throat. Mr. Mitchell, putting feelings aside, there exists legal precedents that support her case. There is not for you in this place. I interrupted him. There shall be no lawsuit. There shall be no alliance. There shall be no renegotiation. I gazed intently into my father's eyes. Your decision was clear the moment you asked me to go. I crafted my own when I chose to remain. In that moment, we found ourselves enveloped in stillness, the relentless Texas sun pouring its warmth upon us, while the solar panels softly buzzed, eagerly absorbing the golden rays above. At last, Father gave a reluctant nod. Come on, Blake. Our journey has reached its conclusion. They made their way back to the truck in silence, dust swirling in their wake as they pulled away into the distance. I felt no sense of victory. I felt a calmness wash over me. A serene calm washed over me, as if a long-awaited resolution had finally come to pass. It's more than merely a matter of the land, it's a profound truth that resonates within me. As the evening unfolded, I found myself perched on my porch, witnessing the sunset transform my solar farm into a breathtaking ocean of flames. I pressed play on another of Grandpa's tapes, this one marked Simply Remember. The true essence of life's strength lies not in wealth, territory, or admiration, his voice conveyed. It's about finding clarity, understanding your true self, and recognizing what holds significance in your life. Many wander through life in pursuit of desires, often unaware of the reasons behind their quests. A smile graced my lips at the depth of his wisdom. The wise old man had gathered a handful of truths about life along his journey. On that fateful night, I found myself making a choice that took even me by surprise. I reached out to Tommy, seeking his help to put me in touch with his cousin's irrigation specialist. The following morning, I composed an email to my dad, sharing insights about contemporary drip irrigation systems that could preserve their pecan orchard in times of drought. No ties binding. There shall be no reference to our clash. Merely some technical insights that might benefit the family ranch. 3 moons drifted by. The irrigation email lingered in silence, as I had anticipated, for a reply was never truly in the cards. My solar operation flourished, and I found myself contemplating an expansion to a nearby property, as the owner had reached out to me with an offer to lease their land. One evening, a call came through from a number that was unfamiliar to me. Gather round, for I have a tale to share. It begins with a voice, a familiar one, calling out to Ethan. "Ethan, it's your mom," she says, weaving a thread of connection in the fabric of their story. There was a certain quality in her voice that triggered a sense of unease. What seems to be the trouble? Behold, the orchard. We are slipping away. In the midst of a relentless drought, Blake's system faltered once more, and now the bank looms ominously, threatening foreclosure if we fail to meet the upcoming payment. With my eyes shut tight, I braced myself for what was about to unfold. Your father would never ponder such a thing, yet if you could find a path to lend a hand, even if it meant standing solitary until the next harvest arrives. I contemplated the idea of ending the call. They had cast me aside, sought to seize my land. Through daunting legal challenges. They were after money, but then a memory flickered to life, another one of Grandpa's tapes, the kind I used to play. In those early, challenging months within the confines of the trailer. Acting kindly in response to the kindness of others lacks a certain uniqueness. Ethan, while many can reciprocate kindness, it is the act of doing good in the face of wrongdoing that truly reveals one's strength. That's when you discover the essence of your being. I let out a heavy breath. Tomorrow, I shall arrive to take a closer look. There are no promises. The following day, I set off to the family ranch, a place I hadn't visited in more than 2 years. The location bore the weight of time, with fences drooping and machinery that seemed to have aged beyond my recollection. In the heart of the grove, the pecan trees stood weary, their leaves turning a weary yellow, whispering tales of thirst and longing for the life-giving rain. Dad found me at the edge of the orchard, his expression a tumultuous clash of pride and desperation. "It was not meant for your mother to have." He said it with a certain rigidity, as if the words were carefully chosen and weighed. Most likely not. Though I once consented, my presence is undeniable now. Revealed to me the intricate workings of the irrigation system. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I had unraveled the central dilemmas. Blake's irrigation setup was misaligned with the soil type and tree spacing, creating a tale of mismatched elements in the garden. The water struggled to reach the root systems, and in its failure, they began to wither away. Half of it to evaporation. As I settled into my seat at the kitchen table, the familiar surroundings brought back memories of a pivotal moment, the day my parents revealed that I was not destined to be a part of the family business. The irony was palpable for all of us. At last, I spoke up, offering my hand to mend the system, and I can also cover the bank payment up front. Father's gaze sharpened. What's the twist? No catch, yet no takeovers as well. This is a singular event, not a collaboration or my investment in the ranch. Simply a family lending a hand to one another. Mother's tears began to flow. My father gazed at me, a glimmer of respect dancing in his eyes as if it were the first time he truly saw me as an adult. Why would you choose this path after all that has transpired? He inquired. As I reflected on Grandpa's wisdom, I pondered the essence of doing good even after being wronged, embodying the true spirit of Tessa. For the reason that the sun does not. It only illuminates those who truly deserve it, I remarked, yet it casts its glow on all. That is what imbues it with strength. In the weeks that followed, I took on the task of modernizing the ranch's irrigation system, guiding Blake through the intricacies of its proper maintenance. A bond didn't spring up overnight, but a careful respect started to take shape between us. Father never offered a direct apology, that wasn't his style. Yet, he began to inquire about the solar farm, genuinely engaging with the responses. I chose not to return to the ranch. My life was a tapestry woven by my own hands, set upon land that others had overlooked, yet the sharp contours of isolation began to blur and fade. Mom began to send care packages. I assisted Dad in establishing a modest solar array to energize the ranch home and reduce their energy expenses. We were discovering a fresh path to connect as family, not confined by the same roof or the same enterprise, but by something deeper, like sunlight itself, intangible yet vital. One evening, as I strolled among my solar panels, the sunset bathed them in a golden hue. It was then that I played the last of Grandpa's tapes. This one was marked simply for when you understand. If you're listening to this, you've figured it out, his voice said gravely but clear. The universe brims with. Individuals gaze downward, lamenting their lack, yet the true gem lies above, the sun that breathes life into all possibilities. Many are so preoccupied with their own path that they fail to notice the wonders around them. I smiled, observing my panels follow the diminishing light, akin to sunflowers tilting their heads toward the heavens. Look up, Ethan, that's the wisdom I've gathered over my 84 years. The dreamers, those who gaze at the stars, are the ones who ignite transformation. Grandpa was weaving tales not merely about solar. He spoke of strength, of the art of perspective, of recognizing opportunity in places where others see emptiness. He emphasized the importance of crafting something significant, rather than merely opting for the path of least resistance. I had not only validated Grandpa's beliefs about the land, but I had also affirmed his faith in me, showcasing the kind of man I could evolve into when faced with challenges. The sun was nearly vanished now, its final rays reaching out across my 25 acres, which had revealed themselves to be the most precious inheritance of all, not for the wealth they brought, but for what they revealed insights about my own being. I found myself not merely on precious ground, but on the very bedrock of my identity, a person capable of confronting rejection, persevering through adversity, achieving success, and ultimately opting for compassion instead of retribution. As the shadows deepened and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, in my solar kingdom, I came to understand Grandpa's ultimate lesson. Genuine wealth transcends mere dollars or acres. It lies in the way you confront both challenges and triumphs. In whether you can shine brightly on your own while still illuminating the path for others, even those who once cast you into shadows.